So was it 2 days ago or something like that? I text you and I was like, hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. How's the update? So that is, I'm like, I have no idea what you're going to say about that. I'm so excited. But can you first give us some context? Like, you've done Splankna now, like 6 hours worth.
Yeah, technically.
And you drove, 3 hours twice to Omaha to come do some sessions. I would love to know, like, what was it that you heard? How'd you hear it? And what was it that was like, I have to try this?
Yeah. So my son is 7, and he has always been like my strong-willed one. He's always been the challenge. And for years and years, I always tried to figure out, like, what does this kid need, right? I tried supplements. I was trying chiropractic care. I was trying to do new parenting strategies with him, like grow as a mom. I was growing as a mom to try to help this kid. But his behavior was just always such a challenge, and his intense emotions were such a challenge for me and were very triggering for me. And so I saw one of your videos on TikTok, actually, Laura, and it, to every word, resonated to my core, because your story with your son when he was 6, I was like, I could have said the same thing about my son, turning into the Hulk, not doing well with transitions. He had a very low tolerance for frustration, for anything not going his way. Just so much. He just was filled with anger, I would say, and I didn't know how to help him. I was trying. Let's name our emotions. Let's take deep breaths. Let's go to a calm corner. Nothing worked. It was like a wall. There was like a wall. And when I saw your video, I was like, maybe this is how to get the wall down. Maybe this is it. And I knew I wanted to try it in person. You're 3 hours away from us. I didn't care. I was like, we're going. And I also knew in my spirit that God was saying, I want us to come at this with me as the focus. Stop looking to supplements. Stop looking to outside sources to solve his issues. Let's come to me and see what there is. And that's kind of where I was like, yeah, you're our healer. You're our everything. So let's start there and see what we can uncover. So,
yeah. Can you tell the story? So, and it's kind of funny because a year ago, you're an author of a book. Mm-hmm. We got connected on TikTok. We've been TikTok friends way longer than we've known each other in real life. Mm-hmm. And I even did a video on your book.
Yeah.
And so you've kind of always been this person that I've known from the peripheral. But when you came to Omaha, that was pretty recently. Tell me the story of what you said about the butter on the pancakes.
Yeah.
So I want people to hear, you weren't just dealing with just no, I don't want to.
Yes. Yes. No. And I think that was my mindset for a very long time is, I just have a spoiled brat. Oh, I just have a really defiant child. Oh, this is just how he is. I literally was like, he's just strong-willed and I'm just going to have to deal with it. That's literally what I thought. And this is just his personality almost. But it was progressively getting worse and worse and worse. Mm-hmm. And my husband is actually a real-life rodeo cowboy. He travels every single day of the summer. He is in a different town. I'm not kidding you, almost every day in the summer. And when we go with him, I noticed every single year with Leroy, it was getting worse and worse and worse. It was like his body was out of control being in a different town every day. The instability of that was too much for him to handle. My other son, he was fine. He was go with the flow and he loves rodeos and stuff. But Leroy, I could see it in his eyes. There was anxiety. There was fear. He couldn't handle it. And his nervous system was completely out of whack. And so this last trip we went on with my husband was the last straw for me. I was like, Cody, he's not okay. And we were eating breakfast and they put butter on his pancakes. And it was a 20-minute meltdown of him running away, of him sitting in the corner screaming, nothing. We could do nothing to get him to calm down because there was butter on his pancakes. And so that's just an example of how intense his behavior had gotten. He also was very, very angry with himself. He was saying words like, I hate myself. I shouldn't even belong to this family.
Shayla, I'm actually losing you. Okay, so you're hearing my stories on TikTok. You're like, oh my gosh, her son is my son. I know this story. I also cry at the thought of having to figure out how to parent this kid and not knowing how to help them. And then you drove to Omaha.
And I think too, Laura, the other thing that resonated with your story and my story is when you said, when I heard him wake up in the morning, like I dreaded the day. That was literally me. And you hate yourself for it. And I actually wrote a whole nother book too about motherhood, because the shame and the guilt that I felt parenting this child was awful. I mean, awful, because I didn't know how to parent him. I hated myself. I never hated him. Obviously, I love my son, but it was just like, I don't know how to do this. And so when you said you almost dreaded when he woke up, I'm like, that's me. And like to even like have that validation of like, okay, I am not the only mother who has ever gone through this. Okay, there is solutions out there. Jesus is leading me to those solutions. Like, okay, it gave me so much hope. And the other thing, we had the butter on the pancakes, and we had very low tolerance for frustration, for disappointment. I mean, constant meltdowns, constant screaming, yelling. It got to the point where he was even having a lot of self-harm, self-negative talk in terms of, I hate myself. I shouldn't even belong in this family. You love my younger son better than me. Like, he just was in this emotional state of defeat, of I hate myself. And it was heartbreaking because we were doing the best that we could to love him. But we couldn't get through to him and show him that love. And that was the last straw for me. I was like, this is not okay. We need help.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it just breaks your heart to hear a tiny little sweet baby saying something like that. Like, because you're like, that's not how you talk to him. And it makes you wonder, like, where does he get this from? He's not hearing it from mom and dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So what was it like having your first session done? Because you had never done a session before. Here you are bringing your kid. Were you nervous? Were you scared? Were you just excited? Were you skeptical?
I don't think I was skeptical, because I knew that, I trusted you. I trusted that Holy Spirit was leading us to this therapy, because I knew, like, I could do occupational therapy. I could have done any other type of therapy. I could do brain therapy. I could have done any other type of thing for my son, because yes, there was nervous system dysregulation. Maybe his brain, right, is a little bit crazy. Like, what's going on? I knew that this was something that was Holy Spirit inspired. I knew that it's been around for 20 some years. And I trusted you, that Jesus was at the center of it. And so when I came in, I was hopeful. And the night before the therapy, I'm not joking you, that was probably Leroy's worst day. It was his very worst day. Worst meltdown he's ever had, trying to run away, all of the things. And so I went to bed that night saying, Jesus, like, I need you. I need you to help my son, because I can't. I literally can't. And so, yeah, we woke up the next morning and we walked in, and I'm just like, let's go. I was like, let's go. And you made us feel so welcome, just relaxed. And yeah, I knew we were in the right place.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, so we got to see you twice. The thing that sticks out to me is obviously not knowing your son very well, just meeting him that day for the first time. It was like I was sweating. We were sweating by the end of the first session. And kudos to him, sitting for 3 hours with little play breaks in between. That's a long time for a little buddy to sit. But compared to his second session, when you guys came back to do another round, I even was like, oh, this is so much easier. He was less reactive and like not running out of the room. I was like, okay, I see, like, he is calmer.
Yeah. I would even say before his first session, Like, I would have used the words out of control for my son. Like, he was out of control. He showed very little remorse for his actions. Like, he would have consequences. He would get in trouble. And it was like, I don't care. Like, I literally do not care. And it was like, it just felt like this darkness had come in. And again, there was a wall. There was literally a wall. And so after his first session, and like I told you, the meltdowns he would experience were like 20 minutes long, screaming. He was out of control. Nothing I did could help him, all the things. Well, on the way home from the first session, I was with my mom because my husband was at a rodeo. We were driving home, and Leroy had like 5 different instances where he got frustrated with something. Oh, Wacy got a donut and I didn't. Or Wacy gets to do this and I don't. Like, it was just like little things, 5 little things that usually would have set him off. We noticed he would get upset, and then like it would diffuse. And then he would get upset, and then he would diffuse. And me and my mom, after driving about 30 minutes, we look at each other and we're like, okay, there's a difference there. Because yesterday, his meltdown was 20 minutes, and we thought he was going to run away from us. And now he's still upset about something, but it's getting diffused a lot faster. So we're like, okay, that's the first thing. Well, then I have to share this story, Laura, because it is so beautiful. Again, remorse, being apologetic, all of that, he wasn't. He was not remorseful for his actions prior to this. When I get home with my son at 8:00 p.m., we walk in the house. It's been a very long day. And he goes, Mom, can I watch the TV? And I said, honey, you've been watching something in the car. No, we're going to take our bath and go to bed. He immediately starts getting upset. Immediately. Okay, screaming, the whole 9 yards. And I'm like, I'm just going to stay calm. And I'm going to believe that this therapy worked. I'm just going to believe. So I said, honey, I need you to go to the calm corner, and I'm happy to sit with you. Otherwise, I'm going to go unpack the bags. So I'm going to give you the choice. Do you want me to sit with you while you calm down, or should I leave? He's like, I don't care. So I said, okay, I'm going to go unpack the bags. I start unpacking, and all of a sudden, this little piece of paper comes under the door. And this little piece of paper is a picture of a broken heart. And I look at it, and I go ahead and I draw my own broken heart. And I wrote, me too. Because at this point, our relationship has been strained. And it's been strained for however many months, right? And I wrote, me too, with a broken heart. I push it under his door, and all of a sudden, I get another piece of paper, and it has my broken heart that I gave him, and he had colored it in. He had colored it in terms of giving it a Band-Aid. I'm trying to fix your heart, Mommy. And so it was so adorable. After he colored in my broken heart and put a Band-Aid on it, I get another note. And I was like, here's another note. And on this note, it said, I love you, Mom. And I looked at it, and this is after months of my little boy feeling no remorse, living in his own little world, not really caring about anybody but himself, like feeling very disconnected from him. I get a note that says, I love you, Mom, after he just had a major meltdown in the living room. And I wrote back and I said, I love you too. This is the night of the session, the night of the first session. And I wrote back, I love you more. And then the next thing he wrote was, we're going back and forth here. He wrote, can we hug it out? And then I wrote, can I come in? And he said, yes. And so when I opened the door, he looked at me in the eyes, and we hugged it out, and we repaired not only that night, but it felt like we were repairing months of speaking different languages, months of being at each other's throat, months of just what is going on? Why are we having such a hard time? And it was the most beautiful thing. And that just to me was like, okay, this is the start of something new. This is the start of something new. And over the next couple weeks, as I was talking to you, I was like, oh my goodness, the biggest thing was he started to be apologetic. He started to understand, oh, my actions are hurting people. Oh, my actions are not okay. And even though he was still having his moments, he would catch himself and be like, "Ooh, maybe I shouldn't do that," or, "Oh, I'm sorry, Mom," without even being truly asked to apologize or to self-reflect. It was just, and another thing I noticed was he just seemed to be at peace with himself, and he was more relaxed and not just in fight or flight. It was like before the therapy, he was in fight or flight constantly. After, he was relaxed. And even during our session, obviously I don't need to go into everything we uncovered, but a big part of his story was that he was at war with himself. He was having these awful thoughts of hating himself and just not being okay with himself, but he also had a lot of defensiveness in terms of, I got to take care of myself. No one's coming to save me. And so he was just at war with himself. And what's crazy is I had spoken that to my mom. I had spoken that to my husband. I had spoken that to you. I feel like he's at war with himself. I feel like there is a wall between me getting through to him, and I don't know how to break it. And after the session, I was like, this is Jesus. Jesus needed to break it. He needed to help me uncover what was actually going on in my son's heart.
When he said, "Can we hug it out?" and "Mom, I love you," was that typical for him? Like after, like even just at all, even not even in a meltdown, but like in the last year, had he said, "I love you" a lot? Had he asked for hugs a lot?
I would say in the last year and a half, God has been doing a major work in my heart and a major work in like how I'm parenting. I would say I went from being a very punishing, behaviorism type person, type mom, to one that is asking Holy Spirit, what does my child need? Starting to learn connected parenting, kind of like a lot of the things you talk about. I just started learning a lot about that. And so we were kind of in this transition period. And so there had been moments where I responded in a much healthier way, and that helped Leroy to respond in a much healthier way. But ultimately, no, this was a very new development. I think drawing is kind of therapeutic for him. I think writing things out is therapeutic for him, but it's not something he did regularly. Even if I asked him to, there would be times where I'd be like, "Hey buddy, why don't you just like draw how you feel?" And he'd be like, "Rah!" Like he'd like scream at me. So I'm like, okay, that's not working. So yeah, just the fact he did it on his own. The other crazy thing is when I went to his room to hug it out, I saw another piece of paper. The other piece of paper said, "I hate you, Mom." And so he had first written, "I hate you." And he recognized that maybe I shouldn't say that, but I still needed to get it out of me. He wrote it on a piece of paper, crumpled it all up, and then decided to write, "I love you." And when I saw it, he was like, "No, I don't want you to see that. That's going in the trash." And so it's just like the self-awareness and reflection he had, it was a very new thing for him, and one that honestly he's kept till now. Like it's just continued to get better and better and better.
I love that. So it's like you can just watch this little battle going on in his heart in these stories. I get a lot of questions from people about like, how do you work with kids? Because it's an hour long and you're working on subconscious memories. Like what in the world? So I just want to give you guys a little vision of what this looks like. This is like, we're sitting with him. He's 7 years old. He's brought toys. Shayla was smart to bring magnetiles, and they had brought some dragons. And so it was this whole thing of like, I sat him down and I'm all about him. I'm like, "Hey, it's so nice to meet you. Come on in." I'm like trying to make this as fun as possible. We're taking it super lighthearted. We're taking play breaks, every maybe 15 minutes or so. And then I'd be like, "Okay, we're going on this treasure hunt. We're trying to figure out what is it that we could work on today that would make you feel so much better." And then once we get to number 7, once we get to we would have these little milestones where like he wanted to draw a dragon on my notes. And I was like, "Oh, I I would love a dragon on my notes. I've never had a dragon in my notes before. Okay, let's do 2 more. And then you right here in this box are going to draw your favorite dragon. So you be thinking. So we tried to just make it super fun, involving him as much as possible. And honestly, like, he did so great. 3 hours was a long time for him. But by the end of it, we were mostly just letting him just kind of like relax and do his thing and play and build his blocks. And Shayla and I were able to kind of finish it up on his behalf. So without getting into all the specifics of how that works out, it is so possible to work with kids. Shayla, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it, but it always seems to me like, okay, that was too simple for this to have worked on anything.
Yeah, I remember I asked you, I was like, you sure that's it? Like, you're sure this is going to be enough? And I remember, but you said we are in the authority, right? We are in the authority over Leroy, and that is why, this is going to work. And I remember God said, where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there is healing. And that is just what I came away from, and I just believed for it, and it was remarkable. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like someone who's had back pain for 20 years and you just pray over them and they get relief from their back pain. It's like, wait, that's too simple. All we did was, dear Jesus, take away this back pain. It's like, that's how it feels to me. It's like, it just shows it's not about the tool. It's not about us. It is literally our faith in like, okay, Lord, we have no idea how to help this kid, but thankfully you do. So here we are. And the session ends and it's like, that's it. Okay. Yeah. And you just wait and see what happens. And that's why I feel like I watch miracles when I go to work, because it doesn't have an explanation that I can wrap my head around. And I think that's part of the reason I love this podcast so much, is because I'm talking to clients, I'm talking to practitioners, and I still am trying to wrap my head around, why does this work so well? And I still don't totally grasp the answer to the depth of it. And I love it because it just is so like, it's just not about us. It's not about our ability. It is about trusting that God wants to heal people. And it's just the coolest thing to watch. So the part I haven't heard yet is then you came back a couple weeks later with Leroy again. And we did a couple more sessions, and I texted you back a couple days ago. I said, how's it going? I haven't heard from you in a while. And you said, I feel like I have a new kid. So anything past our last sessions I haven't heard yet. I would love that update.
Yeah. So throughout this process, we have also been just, maybe Leroy, there's some stuff going on with his brain, maybe like there's just some neurodivergent stuff going on in his brain. And we just kind of were thinking about that, praying over that, and wondering if, Leroy has some of those types of struggles. Because like I said, he has such a low tolerance for frustration, disappointment, when things do not go his way. Like before, it was like, I'm telling you, I tried everything. I was trying so many things to help my little boy just be able to respond in a healthy way. Like imagine having a kid who literally, like, if you look at him the wrong way, he freaks out. Like it was just like, I remember telling you, I said, Laura, and I told other people, I feel like I have to literally be a perfect parent to parent this child, to not set him off. And I can't be perfect. I know that I can't be perfect. Can I be better? Obviously. And I have gotten to be a better mom, but I'm just like, that's an impossible thing. And so the second session happened, and like you noticed the difference in him, and we came home, and I'm telling you, like the obedience is 10 times better in terms of I say it once, and even if he doesn't like it, he sits with it, he processes it on his own, and then he makes the right choice. Like the amount of good choices he is making in the last, like, however many weeks compared to his whole life, it's crazy.
Gosh,
and
amazing.
This one day, another thing that was always really hard was my 2 sons are very, very different from each other. And so it felt like they fought all the time. They didn't have the same interests. Like, honestly, like they just weren't very nice to each other. And ever since this therapy, it seems like their relationship has been repairing. Him and his dad's relationship he's repairing with everyone. And I remember my 3-year-old was taking a nap, and Leroy was like, Mom, I should build Wasey an entire farm rodeo setup in the living room. So when he wakes up, he can play with it. And I was like, absolutely, you should. He probably spent 30 minutes on it, did his very best, had a bunkhouse for my son's little cowboys, had the arena, the barns, all the pens set up with all of his animals, and crushed it. And when Wasey, my second son, woke up, he walked out and Leroy said, Wasey, I made this for you. And Wasey said, for me? He said, yeah.
Oh.
And he just started showing him all the things. And I'm telling you, that was not Leroy just a few months ago. He would have, if Wasey's farm set would have been set up in the living room, he would have just knocked it down just for fun, just for funsies.
Wow. And you know what I love about that is the rodeo is Wasey's thing. So
it's his thing. Yep.
Leroy wasn't building it because he loves rodeos, because he doesn't. He was building it because he knows his brother loves rodeos. That's a big deal.
I think what has happened, Laura, is his heart was in so much pain and hurt that now that we've released it and we've let those emotions out, he has the capacity to love better. He has the capacity to show people how much he cares. So before, it felt like Leroy was a very uncaring, rude, defiant child. But it was because he had so much internal angst that's what came out of him. And that's what God has taught me over the last couple of years, that whatever you believe about yourself, if you're a miserable person, you're going to be miserable to other people. Like, if you love yourself and you see yourself as the way God sees you, that's what you're going to reflect out to other people. So my poor little son, like, he was so misunderstood. He was I believe he was judged by other people, even me and my husband. And it's like, it's because he had hurt in his heart. And now he has this capacity to love in a way that I've never seen him do before. And it is the most beautiful thing. He is apologetic. He knows how to repair. He even knows how to name his feelings better. And remember how I talked about the wall? I would try to say, hey, buddy, this is disappointment you're feeling. And he would just continue to erupt. Versus now, I'll say, buddy, this is disappointment you're feeling. And he'll look at me in the eyes and be like, okay, like, what do we do next? What do we do with this? And so he's like literally learning the emotional regulation that I've been trying to teach him over the last year. He's finally able to process it and actually apply it. And I'll say things like, we do not have a spirit of fear. If he's really, really scared, I'll say, repeat after me. I do not have a spirit of fear. And now he is applying that in his life. I'll hear him say it. I do not have a spirit of fear. I have a spirit of courage. And it's just, he can absorb it now. He has the capacity to absorb the things that I've wanted to teach him over the last couple of years. And I believe it's because we released it in his session. We released those negative emotions, and Jesus took his chains away. There was chains. There was demonic oppression. There was things going on in my little boy that I knew God did not want him to live that way. I knew it. And this therapy is what helped our breakthrough, really and truly.
Wow. The other story that I remember you telling is like he was building with Legos, and I saw this firsthand. It's like if something gets knocked over, if something doesn't go right, it was really, really hard for him. But what was it? Like he didn't have a piece of the Legos that he needed to build his Spider-Man or something. And he rolled with it.
Yeah. And another thing, he had a lot of entitlement. And I guess I'm just here to tell anybody who has a child that wants things all the time. I really think that Leroy's love language is gifts, but I think I think the enemy just really started to attack that. And he just kind of had a lot of entitlement of I want. So if something broke, if something was missing, he would always come back and say, we need to buy this. We need to replace this. And I'd be like, well, no, we can't just replace something that you intentionally broke or something. And he'd have a freak out. Well, this time he was building this Spidey Lego set that was 2 or 3 years old. We've had it forever. And he was missing a couple pieces. And he started just creating it with other pieces and started to be like, Mommy, look, we can replace it with this. We can replace it with, and I'm like, he's being resourceful. He's not acting like he needs something new. He's just, here's what we got to work with. Let's do it. And those are the kind of like character qualities that I've always wanted to see in him, but I couldn't ever break through to him. Like I couldn't teach him those things, because again, he was living with this emotional pain that was crippling him. And just,
Yeah.
to watch him be resourceful, to watch him not always resort to, I want, was huge for him. Because of course we love to gift our children and we want him to know that gifts are totally fine. But when you're not grateful for things or it's skewed, then that's when it becomes dangerous. So, yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember all the details of the sessions we did, but I do remember one that I would love to recap for people, because this is why 4 years ago I started my entire TikTok channels, because I started learning about connected parenting, which is the journey you're on as well. But it was so life-changing for me when I realized that what like behavior focused parenting does to a kid versus connected parenting. Yeah. And I remember one session with Leroy, and I tell you what, this is the most common thing that I work on with kids, is just in a parent's good intention. We are trying to help our kids. We're trying to support them. We're trying to teach them right from wrong. And everybody tells us how to do that is to reward good behavior and consequences for bad behavior. And as parents, we're taught that temper tantrums are bad behavior. Yelling, crying really loud in the store, all stomping your feet, it's all bad behavior and it needs a consequence. And so I so badly wanted to be a good mom. And in the beginning, I was staying on top of every quote unquote bad behavior because I wanted my kids to be good kids so badly. And what ended up transpiring from that was I had kids who didn't feel super connected to me. They just felt like they had to perform for me. Like kids so desperately want their adults, their parents, to be proud of them and to love them. And when they get consequences, what I thought was communicating to my kid was, I thought my kid was learning, oh, I can't do that in public. That is disrespectful. But what I realized my kids were actually learning from their consequences was, my mom doesn't love me when I do bad things. And that is absolutely, of course, not the message I was trying to communicate to them. But even in my good heart, even in my best efforts to try to teach them just how to be a good person, I was accidentally sending them the message of like, I only love you. I'll only be close to you when you're good, when you're perfect. And kids cannot be perfect. Like adults can't even be perfect. And we have 30 more years of practicing emotional regulation than these sweet little babies do. Yeah. And when I understood that, it changed everything for me. And what I heard in Leroy's story was, in being a kid who struggled with big emotions, you said he's always had big emotions. And then he'd go to school, he'd go to a friend's house, he'd go, wherever. And whenever he would get in trouble for these big emotions he was having, he interpreted the message of, I am bad. I'm all alone. Nobody loves me. And then that just snowballed. And so his defensiveness, his fight, his entitlement all came from this place of like, well, I guess it's just me against the world. And I can't trust that anyone is going to be on my team. And that was one of the things we were able to break in his sessions, is this, it's me against the world mentality, not being able to trust you guys as his parents, because there had been this whole internal world going on that you had never intended. So I love hearing that story because, it does sound like he was able to put to rest this lie that says, I'm all on my own and I can't look to anyone or depend on anyone.
Yeah. And we are reinforcing over and over and over that, hey, you're going to make mistakes. We're going to have bad moments, and I love you and it's okay. And we work through it together. And like, it is just wild for him to now he's choosing better behaviors because he knows that's what's right. He's choosing things that are filled with light instead of darkness. Like some issues we had with him was him choosing like videos to watch or things to consume that were very harmful for him, that were not filled with light. And so it was like, you know, I was this mom that was like, no, you can't watch that. You can't watch that. You can't watch that. And it would just put him into a tailspin. Versus now, he's like, I don't want to watch that stuff because it makes me feel yucky, because I know that God doesn't want me watching that stuff. Like he's able to literally make better choices on his own. And that's huge. Like I know that he's not doing it out of fear. He's not doing it just to please me. He's like, I know what's better for me because I've been teaching him that. And it's just, I truly have a different son. He is free. He is just filled with light and life like I have never seen him before. Really and truly.
Makes me so happy.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus is so cool. Do you think his teachers at school have noticed a difference or have been able to see something?
That's the second thing that we've done is we've started a homeschool. So I am his teacher now.
And, right, but you were going to the co-op and you were struggling.
Oh, yeah. Yes, the co-op. So we go to a co-op once a week, and the first couple weeks were pretty intense. It's a new thing. So anything new for him, he's like, this is scary. I'm not okay. And the second week we went, he said, Mommy, I don't want to go. I want to go back to my old school. I hate you for making this change, all of the things. What I did was I validated. I said, I know, this is hard. And I know you're sad and you miss your other friends. I know. And that's all I did was I validated. He gave me a hug, and then he was ready to go. And we went to co-op, and it was still hard, but like he knows he can now do hard things, even when he's sad, even when he's mad. And that was a huge breakthrough for him, because that before would have turned into an all-out absolute come apart. And the second week of co-op, I did tell a couple teachers or other mothers, we've been working through some challenges, some behavior challenges, and I'm just really trying to go at a slow pace for Leroy. And we're in now week 5, and he's at home. He's singing the songs that we do at co-op. He's like really getting into it now. And so he clearly is starting to love it. And he does love homeschooling with me. He calls me Mrs. Mom, and we have a great time. So
I love that. So your first Splankna session was right before starting homeschool, and then you started homeschool, and then 2 weeks into homeschool, you came back, and that was your number one reason was I want to work on his ability to try new things, which homeschool and this co-op fell into that category, because getting him to this co-op was still proving extremely difficult even after his first sessions. So that update I hadn't heard yet, that school was going better, and I'm so happy to hear that.
It is going so much better. Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. Is there anything else? Anything we haven't covered? I just feel like I will never, ever get sick of hearing these stories. It's just crazy to me that we could sit in a room for an hour or two, and this kind of transformation comes out of it.
Yeah, I think one of the most beautiful things for me is that I have been on a journey over the last year and a half of God really helping me see my children. Of course, we love our children, but I guess I can now see them the way God sees them. I can see their personalities, their uniqueness, who God created them to be. I see them now. And what's so beautiful is even as God healed my heart, he began to help me in my behavior. This breakthrough with Leroy, even when I was working on my parenting strategies and I was trying to teach him emotional regulation, I was trying to respond to him better instead of being the reactive, angry, yelling mom that I used to be, it still felt impossible. It still felt like my efforts were so futile because Leroy was struggling so badly. And so now after he has been essentially set free and delivered from a lot of these things, everything God has taught me about how to respond to him, the boundaries that I need to set and the follow through that I need to have and the connection and the love that leads my discipline, it's now working. It's now all coming together in the most beautiful way. And so it's no longer me just blaming myself for everything. It's no longer me blaming Leroy for everything. It is like, okay, Jesus, he comes in, he heals us, and we're able to grow from that place together. And I'm telling you, my second book, I'll just tell everybody, it's called 10 Things I Hate About Motherhood, because that is how awful I have felt over the last 7 years. I've hated myself. I've hated the struggles that motherhood has brought to me. And now I have the most joy I've ever had in motherhood. Yesterday I had a work day. I have one work day a week. I had a work day yesterday and I could not wait to go pick my kids up. I was like, I miss them so much. That was
That's so
not,
sweet.
that was not me 2 years ago. That was not me. So
Yeah.
Jesus changed everything.
So this is a whole different episode, but I just want to give them context. We were able to do one session on you with it's traumatic for a mom to go through working with such a defiant kid day in and day out. So we did a session on that. And right before we hit record, you were saying when things get tense around the house with two little boys running around, I don't get so triggered, so wrapped up. I like the other day something happened and you laughed about it. You were able to just kind of like laugh it off and stay present.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's
so
been remarkable. Absolutely remarkable.
Okay, so Shayla has been through so many journeys in the last couple of years. It started with her marriage, the Lord teaching her how to like heal her own heart and fix her own attitude and perspectives and connections with him in marriage. And so she wrote this book called 10 Things I Hate About My Husband. And like even on your videos, I've seen people comment on the title. I love it because it's such an attention grabber. It's like, oh, you can't say that about your husband. But the whole point of the book when you read it is it's not about her husband. It's about fixing her own heart perspective, the place that she has control over, and how it brought such transformation to surrender all of that to the Lord. It's a beautiful book. It is so helpful to people who are struggling in their marriage, struggling to feel connected to their husband. I would highly, highly recommend getting your hands on that. And then 10 Things I Hate About Motherhood hasn't come out yet, but keep an eye out. If they do want to look at your book, where do they get it from?
So you can just follow me on TikTok. Shayla Huber 30, I believe, is what you would search for. And my TikTok shop is Shayla Marie Huber. You can get on Amazon, or my website is shaylamariehuber.com.
Okay. And I'll put that in the show notes as well. So you guys can just go down there and click on that. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing your story. Thanks for being brave to try something new with your son after you had tried so many things. Like you didn't give up. You just kept going. You've tried so many things. You are such a good mom. I've loved our conversations about just processing the parenting side of things and the connected parenting versus behavioral parenting, and your heart for your kids, your tenacity, your drive is like so infectious. So thanks for sharing it with us.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, and thank you for what you do, because it's been our breakthrough. So we're so thankful.
I love it. Well, everyone, thanks for being here. Thanks for listening to the podcast this week. We will be back next week yet again with another topic, continually digging into, I just think the Lord loves giving us freedom and healing and taking our pain and the way we've masked it and the way we try to cope with it and carry it for the rest of our life. And I just continually see this God who's like, don't carry it, don't cope with it, just give it to me. I want to heal it. And Splankna is such a unique and cool tool for that, but it's just who he is. He does it in every aspect. And I think he just continually calls us to let go, to surrender and stop muscling through everything, which to me is such a beautiful testimony of like how and why Splankna is so simple. It seems so anticlimactic. You do a session, you're like, really? That's it? It's because the whole time it's all about God. It's all about Jesus. So thanks for being here. I appreciate you listening. I love hearing from you guys. If you want to reach out, my email for the podcast is in the show notes below, and I will absolutely write back, answer questions, help you out any way that I can, and we'll see you next week. Hey, Energy to Heal listeners. Before I go, I wanted to tell you about something that's coming up. It's going to be mid-November. On the 15th of 2025, I had some Splankna practitioners reach out to me to tell me about a Splankna retreat that they're putting together. It's going to be an all-day thing from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. in Colorado on a quiet, beautiful ranch near Sedalia, Colorado. $130 per person, which is going to include your workshops, your materials, a light breakfast, and a lunch, and then a personal one-on-one Splankna session with a practitioner for yourself before you leave. Now, they're going to be keeping this to 20 people, so sign up soon to make sure you reserve that spot. If this is something you're interested in, I'm going to put a link below in the show notes, and it will be a link directly to the page that you can register on. And just to be clear, I will not be there. I'm going to be out of town traveling when this event is happening, but I did want to promote it because a lot of you have reached out wondering about some sort of Splankna event. So there you go. Reach out to me if you have any further questions.